Well, hello and welcome, one and all. It is the Geeknd Live. I'm Jamie, and we're going to discuss Andor Episode 7, the announcement with spoilers and all. That's my announcement. So talk to me in the chat, as always, and in the comments if you're watching on the replay, aka in the future. But first, a quick word or words on Episode 6, as there was no show last week because I was punishing you. Essentially, you know what you did. But yeah, few words. It was a really satisfying, intense payoff to that 3-episode heist arc, and I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. What about you, by the way? As we didn't talk last week, let me know your thoughts on episode 6. Give me a rating. My only gripe isn't really a gripe, but it got me thinking again that they should maybe, in my opinion, release these as 3-episode dumps, if you like. Or maybe do a Stranger Things and release half. So the first 6 episodes, 2 movies, if you like, because these are like 3-episode movies, and then wait a little bit and then release the second half. I don't know. It might have helped generate some more buzz for this show, as some do think it is too slow and others are just not watching, maybe because of the lack of buzz. And this does deserve more buzz, this show, and I think it will come in time. I really do believe come season 2 there'll be a lot of excitement leading into it. Anyway, on to episode 7, and I'll come over to the chat. That was almost and was in the end, because I ended up finishing the mispronunciation, a very different word to what I wanted to say. I will come over to the chat shortly, and maybe I'll even chat shortly as well. We'll see. Anything could happen. So episode 7, this felt like a bit of a transition episode, and a blooming good one at that. It was longer, I think, wasn't it? Definitely looked like it was 50 minutes or so, obviously including quite long credits. It didn't feel longer, but I know it was longer. The pacing was really good, and I enjoyed all of the different storylines going on equally. And there was so many, once again, more great performances. Some really good acting, particularly from Petunia Dursley. I mean, Fiona Shaw. The goodbye between her and Cassian was really well done, and genuinely sad, with the brief but brutal flashbacks that were thrown in as well. I also liked how the repercussions of the heist, which was a theme throughout the episode, also moved her. You know, a little old lady on Ferrix. And despite the scene being sad, it was inspiring to see her going all in her own way for the rebellion. But that means, in her way, she would have to separate from Cassian to do so. And of course, how the Empire reacted was really interesting as well. And any mention of Palpatine, I'm in. I feel like verbal cameos would work enough for me with this series. Palpatine, Tarkin, Vader, although, of course, I'd take seeing any of them. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. Not this season, but hey, who knows? Who knows? Another storyline I really enjoyed was Mon Mothma's, again, actually. Her dismay at Luthen over his involvement with the Aldhani attack, and the dinner party as well. Smile. We also had the beach planet. I don't know what the planet name is, actually. I should have made a note of that. But we had the beach planet of Blackpool, England, looking as hot and tropical as ever, where we saw the brutality of Imperial enforcement, which Cassian really can't escape. He thinks he can, but wherever he goes, it's going to have an impact on his life. Not to mention the brutality of the rebellion, or the beginnings of the rebellion as well, having to seek out and take out Andor, despite him delivering as promised, because now he knows too much. The KX droid appearing again on Blackpool, Planet Blackpool, was cool. And I think, like many, I was duped into believing it was K2SO. And for a moment, at least, branded Alan Tudyk a liar, because, of course, he says he has no involvement in this series, in this season. But I'm sure he's going to show up in season 2. It also, and to be honest, I've never felt it didn't feel like Star Wars, this series, but I know for some it didn't. And I can kind of see where they're coming from. but I feel like this felt more like Star Wars than any other episode of this series. We got Star Destroyers, or singular, Stormtroopers at last, Clone Troopers in the flashback, a Shore Trooper, well, a few Shore Troopers, and the one that spoke, that actually took Cassian in, or handed him over to the KX droid anyway, I have had brought to my attention from Anders Lay. I've not checked on the chat yet, so I don't know if he's here, but he's a loyal guy. I'm sure he is. Anders has informed me, and he's backed it up with video evidence, that Sam Witwer voiced that Shore Trooper, which is pretty cool to have Sam Witwer appearing once again in Star Wars. Yeah, I think overall, a really strong setup for the second half of the season. Even though we all know where it's ultimately going to go, I genuinely don't know how we're going to get there, but maybe that's just me. What about you? Over to the chat. I go now. So let me just, because it moves as messages appear. Let me just go back in time a little bit. So hello there to Gaz Nottingham. Power Droid Girl. Clays is in the house, as is Peter. As is Chris of Explaining Computers. Hello to you. Yes, Peter, new scenery. This is Airbnb vibes. I'm in Mexico City again, people. I had a little vacation, and now I'm in the city for a little bit. And yeah, just going to base myself here for a month, maybe 2. Miss out on some European winter, although it's not actually that hot here. Where I had the vacation in Oaxaca was hot, but Mexico City, kind of like spring, I guess. Chilly in the mornings, pleasant in the day, chilly again in the evenings. So that should explain the new scenery for you, Peter. Hello to David Milano as well, who I know is busy wedding planning at the moment. Hope all that's going well. And confirmation that Anders is in the house. Hello to you. We've had some scores for episode 6, 10 out of 10 from Power Droid Girl. The owner there ticked all the boxes for our Power Droid Girl. Rob H is here as well. And this episode, I assume you mean 7, gave, well, you didn't mean to say a nerd gasp. Gasp, I can see here. Nerdgasm, Rob got. Not a nerd gasp. Some might be having a nerd gasp at the very thought of Rob having a nerdgasm, though, of course. Peter, who has not been enjoying this series that much, gives episode 6 no more than a 6. The pacing is and remains sluggish. I mean, episode 6 was action-packed. It was action-packed. Clays gives episode 6 8 out of 10. Simon Farrell, hope you're doing well, my friend. It's a slow burner. I'm on episode 5. Okay, warning about spoilers. I did give a warning at the beginning, I hope. But I'm glad it's gearing up. Was starting to stray, but really enjoyed episode 5. Okay, well, you're going to get a good payoff, in my opinion, with episode 6. Marco, haven't seen you for a while. Hope all is good over in Ireland. Good evening to you. Good afternoon here from Mexico City. Mark really liked this episode, made me change my opinion on the series. Do you think the Imperial officer is Cassian Andor's sister? That's interesting. Is that your theory, Mark, or is that being discussed elsewhere? Because I'm not on Twitter these days. Well, I have got my account, but I don't log in. So I'm not that hot on the theories and the rumors. That is interesting, though, and I feel like the sister is going to be addressed. I know Fiona Shaw's character told him to forget about it. It's not happening. She's not alive. But the very fact that she was brought up again, and when we're introduced to Cassian in this series, that's who he's looking for. Yeah, that something's going to come back there. So that is interesting. But I don't know. You mean the blonde? I can't remember her name, but you mean the blonde Imperial officer? I mean, based on the flashbacks, she doesn't look very much like the young version of Cassian's sister, who we do see in the flashbacks, right? But hey, who knows? Anders surprised Cassian didn't tell anyone he was part of the heist. I thought he was going to tell his mom, if you like. Just to get that pride directed towards him from her. I was surprised by that as well. Dave Milano says, Andor isn't too slow at all. This is some of my favorite Disney era Star Wars. I love Rogue One, and this is a fantastic exploration of that kind of thriller. All of the Mon Mothma scenes are excellent. I agree. I'm really loving the Mon Mothma, even the domestic life of Mon Mothma. I'm really enjoying in this series. Clay's answering the question, is episode 7 the best episode yet? Clay says yes. And do you know what? I think I'm in agreement. Even though it didn't have the action of episode 6, which I think was an action-packed episode. I think this was more intriguing, more enthralling. It gripped me more. And again, all the different storylines, not one of them bores me. Not one of them feels sluggish. Like, oh, wish we could get back to whatever. So yeah, I'm in agreement as well. Best episode so far. Okay, thank you, Rob. The name of the planet, Blackpool, is Neamos. What do you make of people calling Blackpool Space Miami? It's bizarre, but Blackpool really doesn't look like Blackpool in Andor, which, you know, is kind of the point, I suppose. But yeah, I wonder what time of year they shot there, because, you know, the UK has had some pretty good summers recently, but Blackpool is in that kind of part of the country which often misses out on the good stuff. It looked a little bit blustery, didn't it? There was a bit of cloud around, but at the same time, it did look kind of warm. But then, even Blackpool can look tropical thanks to the wonders of post-production and color grading. Dave McKay, hope you're doing well. And also Jones Capone, can see you're here as well. Hope you are well, my friend. David says, can't believe Cassian changed his name to Keith and moved to a seaside town in the north of England. Yeah, and I think it was Anders as well mentioned that Keith, and I can't remember the surname, but it's the name of, what was it, one of the sound engineers of the show, and now has a Wikipedia entry, naturally, of course. Padwigo says, when Cassian tangles with the law, he gets away with it. When he lays low, he gets done for something he hasn't done. Oh, the irony. Or yes, roll it again in terms of the Palpatine saying ironic gif. Peter says, yes, in episode 6 we had some action, but it just feels slow paced. 7 seemed better though. Okay, so you're warming to it, Peter. I'll be interested to hear your score out of 10 for 7 then, because you gave episode 6 a 6, and I feel like 6 before 7 would have been for many people the best episode yet. And I can't remember your scores from before, Peter, but I know they were all pretty low, and in some ways 6 feels quite high. But as I've always said, 6 is above average, man. So if you're going on, you know, on the basis that 5 is average, then 6 is above average. Simple as that. Speaking of scores, Jane Flakes, who can't be with us this evening, has given this episode a 9 out of 12 based on her own metrics, her own scoring system, Imperial scoring system. Greetings from Costa Rica. Durillo Customs. Hope you're doing well, my friend. We've spoken quite a bit in the comments on videos. By the way, if you are watching in the future on the replay, then do leave a comment as well. Hope you're doing well over there in Costa Rica. I guess I'm a little bit closer to you right now than compared to when I'm in the UK, currently being in Mexico City. Babbling Booby. I hope you're well. I liked the episode, and I know what they were trying to do, but I thought the detaining of Cassian and the trial was a bit corny. 6 years as well, bit harsh, I would say, not just corny. Be interesting to see how he gets out of that one, which, you know, there's another 5 episodes left, so he's gonna have to pretty soon. Marco says, just a thought I had, because they keep mentioning her and there isn't really anyone we've seen that can be her. Yep, you did mean the blonde one. Okay, yeah, I don't think they match physically, but who knows? Still, who knows? And I'm in absolute agreement with you. They do keep mentioning her, and despite the fact that Fiona Shaw's character said, forget about her, you know, that just means remember her, keep remembering her, audience. Okay, so we've had information from Peter here that in the Dutch school system of 0 to 10, a 6 is about just right. Okay, so these aren't terrible scores. Let's talk scores now. We got Jane's score of 9 out of 12. So let's oh, I haven't seen that. So this goes back to the Blackpool being the Miami of Star Wars. Someone brilliant put up a Miami Vice intro video. I wish I'd thought of it, says David. Yeah, you would have been very good at that, David, with your editing skills. So I am disappointed in you that you didn't think of it first and dazzle the world with it. But I'll have to go and look that up. That sounds fun. Maybe I should be logging back into Twitter. I don't know. Probably shouldn't. Anyway, let's get your scores out of 10 for episode 7 of Cassian. In the meantime, let's see what Rob's saying. Looks pretty cold on that beach. Cassian wearing long sleeves and a hoodie. Not exactly tropical, but I think we've canonized English seagulls in the Star Wars galaxy. Yeah, I wonder what they did about those seagulls. Because the porgs on Skellig Michael were puffins, weren't they? And they kept getting in the way of shots. So that's why the porgs were invented to replace in post-production the puffins that, aren't very sci-fi. Seagulls aren't very sci-fi either, in my opinion. So we got our first score coming in for episode 7 from Marco, and it is 8 out of 10. That's pretty high. Thank you, Mark, for that. And Power Droid Girl, who gave episode 6 a 10 out of 10, has also given this episode a 10 out of 10. I don't need to give it anywhere to go because for me, it's perfect and everything I hoped for. I know Power Droid Girl was really looking forward to this series. So out of everybody I know, probably you were looking forward to it the most, and therefore had the most to lose, I would say. The hype was high for you, and therefore this series had a lot more to live up to for you. So I'm really pleased that it's doing so so far. Chris from Explaining Computers gives 8 out of 10 for episode 7, which is just 0.5 less than episode 6. Did I read your score for episode 6 out earlier? We've got it now anyway. Brick Walls and Coruscant do take me out of the Star Wars realm. Although, yeah, I have to say Coruscant's looking really great. When we saw it sparingly, I think, in the first episode or the second one, I don't know, it didn't feel quite like Coruscant, but then again, I don't think it should exactly feel like Coruscant that we know from the prequels, because this is a different Imperial era. But yeah, I've got a feeling those bricks might have been Barbican, the Barbican estate in London. Yeah. But again, I'm pleased they're using real locations rather than completely CGI. Obviously, there's some completely CGI sets like the Senate, for example. But no, I'm pleased they're using these real locations. But yeah, aside from the brick walls, you've given it a pretty high score, Chris. 8 out of 10 for episode 7. Clays gives it 9.5 out of 10. So, we're getting some high scores. I'm looking forward to Peter's, which could potentially be the lowest for now. Oh, no, it's not the lowest. I thought I saw a 7 there, but that's just referencing the fact we are talking about 7 from Tigurlo Customs. It's another 10 out of 10. So what is the lowest so far? Is the lowest an 8 so far? I think it might be. Yeah, I think the lowest might be an 8, but that could change because Peter has not sent his score in yet. Excellent regroup episode. This is from Rob H. Love seeing the rough Imperial response to the heist and the ISB politics. 9.35721 out of 10. So 8 is still the lowest. By the way, I'm giving this episode we have to go with a 9 out of 10 because I gave last week an 8.5, and I think this was a better episode. So I could go into 8.6, 3.271. But no, I'm going to go with 9. I'm going with it. I've gone with it. It's done. Confirmed. And Babbling Booby says here that Coruscant looked amazing. So get those final scores in. We'll be wrapping up in just a moment because it looks like it's slowing down over in the chats. But Anders Lay is here with his score. And I've also seen an interesting score come in from, who. Anders gives it an 8.1 out of 10. That's for episode 7. It was cool to see Admiral Wolof Yoloden again. Yeah, and I guess we're going to see more of him. And as somebody who's quite new to the animated side of Star Wars, we see him in the Clone Wars, right? In the animated series. Power Droid Girl adds Blevin is a rebel sympathizer. I'm standing by that. I think there's something in that. I think there is absolutely something in that. In some ways, he's being billed, or this foreshadowing that he might be have a vendetta, might be going after Andor, especially with, I can't remember which episode it was where they closed on that. I think they closed on that long shot of him staring at the hologram of Cassian. But yeah, I believe you there. I think that's a sound theory. All right, we have got a score from Peter, and it is the lowest we've had so far. However, I think by the Dutch school system, this is definitely above average, and it's definitely the highest Peter has given yet for an episode of Andor. It's a 7 out of 10. So, I think Peter is the harsher critic than I am. I can be quite low, even though I think quite high with my scoring. So that's a big one, I think, from Peter. And I'd be interested as well when this is all said and done, if Peter goes back and does a rewatch, if we all go back and do a rewatch, how our scores would change. Because again, if these movies, if you like, these 3-episode movies were released in one, I think not that there's much negativity out there at all, but I still think there'd be a lot more buzz around this series. Something I have noticed when I log into YouTube, obviously I'm shown I'm offered a lot of Star Wars videos. Quite a few Star Wars creators have said that their views are down for anything Andor related. I think a few have done some research, and it's just not trending. It's not being searched for much at all. Which, when it's arguably for many people the best Star Wars that Disney have done, the best Star Wars in years, is a bit of a shame. But again, I think that buzz will come eventually. So yeah. Final scores, everybody. We'll wrap up in the next couple of moments. Oh, sorry. Oh, really? So Blevin. Okay. I'm thinking of Cyril. Yeah. I'm thinking of Cyril. I think Cyril will be a rebel sympathizer. I don't think Blevin is. Blevin is the ISB officer played by Ben Bailey Smith. You're thinking of Cyril. So Ben Bailey Smith, he's the Ricky Gervais's mate, isn't he? Is that right? I'm going to just double check. It must be. Yes, it is. Doc Brown. Yeah. Okay, but no, I'm sticking by Cyril. And Peter adds, I'm only against the sluggish pacing. There is just too much filler and not enough content. I don't know. I think it's good character building and world building. I'm enjoying it, but I can understand why some people would find it slow. It is slow compared to the likes of Kenobi, which were very fast paced and a bit too short, if you like, for me anyway. But that's an interesting theory, though, still from Power Droid Girl about Blevin. That is an interesting one. But I'm sticking with my Cyril one, which was the wrong theory in relation to what Power Droid Girl was talking about. But I'm sticking with it. So, yeah. All right, everybody. I think that is about it. And Dave Milano here on the aforementioned Clone Wars animated series Cameo. Branding it as being handled perfectly. If you know him, you get it. If not, he's just a high-ranking officer. I agree. It would not have confused anybody who hasn't seen Clone Wars. Either way, the scene doesn't stop to call attention to him. Yeah, perfect cameo in a way, but I'm assuming it's not a cameo. I'm assuming he's going to show up a few times now. And him saying that he spoke with the Emperor last night. I love that. Just any mention of the Emperor and the classic characters, I love it. And I feel like that's enough. I feel like we don't need to see the Emperor, but I'd take it if we do. All right, everyone. I think that's about it because the chat has slowed down. I think I've got scores from everybody who's here. This is amazing. We might actually finish under 30 minutes. And I'm good for time. I can carry on. But like I say, it's dried up. And I've got nothing really left to say in terms of Andor, apart from the fact I am looking forward to next week. So even though I do feel like, it would be nice to have 3-episode dumps as these movies, these 3-episode movies, as they've called them, I'm more than happy to wait. It's great to be excited for something Star Wars related and to know we've got, 5 more to go. It's going to take us up to, it'll be almost Christmas. And it feels like Christmas every Wednesday at the moment as a Star Wars fan. So, yeah, loving it. And glad to hear that everybody really is enjoying it to varying levels, but, to pretty decent levels. So, thank you for joining me, everybody. If you're here live in the chat, if you're watching in the future. Oh, guys, I was so relieved when they went to that news broadcast to the reporter that the reporter was not a Deveronian. Because actually before I'd already created Ramirez Watt, but I then stumbled across the Detours, which, hasn't seen the light of day apart from a few leaks. I think Detours had a Deveronian presenter, at least, of some sort of TV show or news reporter. And that got me a bit like, oh no, but I've already done this and there's something out there already. But then Detours doesn't really count, but Cassian does count. Andor does count. So yeah, my mind did go there, and it was relief on my mind when it was human, right? Good question, Rob. When am I actually going to finish editing a Lightspeed Tonight episode is the real question. I have got one that's pretty much done. I just need to do the final tweaks. It's gone to Vince, who I make them with. He's going to send me his edit notes, and then we'll release that. And the one after that is the one that I'm going to really try and push. So this next one I'm just going to release, see what happens. Because even though they don't do very well, I don't mind so much, because I know when one does well, they're evergreen. So people will go back, hopefully, and watch the other ones. But the one after the next one I put out, I am going to start pushing, because I can't say too much just yet, but there'll be an extra reason to start pushing it, I believe. And yeah, Tales of the Jedi next week. Just 6 episodes, right? Which I saw some people were quite disappointed about, but I'm looking forward to that as well. So I don't know what day of the week that comes out, but maybe we'll talk about that as well in next week's stream if it's been out already. But if not, we'll talk about it on another day. Chris from Explaining Computers is also looking forward to it. No, there is only one, assuming that you mean in-universe Star Wars news people, there is only one. WW. That's right. Walter White, Walt Whitman, Womaris Watt, Willy Wonka. I just want to, we need Hank Schrader to re-record those lines and include Womaris Watt in that Breaking Bad scene. If you know, you know. I know stuff about Cinta's character, and I can't say it. But yeah, anyway, more on that in the future. I will be able to say, and it's not even that exciting. But yeah, I'm not curious because I know. All right. So actually, no, I don't know where she's going, but I know a bit about the character's future. And it's really random why I know, but I will tell you why and how eventually, and you'll be very underwhelmed by how I know. But it's kind of random. Anyway, I'm going to stop now. So we've almost made it to 30 minutes. So, where there's a will, there's a way. I can always bring out the ramble if need be. Marco, thank you. I will enjoy Mexico. It's lovely, I hear, in Ireland, according to those emojis. I spoke to my mom earlier, who's in the Midlands in England, and generally she says it's been pretty good, but today was definitely not good by the sounds of it. A lot of rain. But hey, if you want the green and pleasant land, you got to pay the price, haven't you? Mark? We know that all too well. And Gaz Nottingham is right to say that you should hit the like button on your way out, people. So I think that's it. So I'll be back this time next week. I'll still be here. You'll still have this exciting Airbnb backdrop to enjoy. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of the weekend, start of next week. And we'll be back to talk Andor episode 8 real soon. So I'm going to hit end broadcast, everybody, which means, you got to start, what you got to start doing. You got to start waving, everybody. End broadcast has been clicked. Start waving.